The great S4 League. My favorite game in the past. I wanted to talk about it for a long time. But what is S4 League, you might ask? Is League of Legends 4th season? No. It's stylish. Esper. Shooting. Sports. It came from 2007, when the internet turned into, well, it was pretty bad. But why is that this shooter game became so popular back then? Well, the answer is pretty long, but let's get into it. First things first, the gamma modes. There was Deathmatch, Touchdown, Battle Royale, Chaser, Captain, and Siege. My absolute favorite was Deathmatch, which had a simple rule: destroy your opponent. The game was pretty good. In fact, it was amazing how many good stuff you could do in it. And when I play the current games, it feels like something's missing from them. What this game had but the modern ones don't have. You really should check out Doomy's What Happened to S4 League video. It sums up stuff better than I do. Also, I don't play the game anymore, so he knows the current events a lot better. Link in the description. It was just like how Doomy said in his video, if you were good, it was impossible to lose against a player who's worse than you. There was no ranking system, rather there was something, what I call a wall. This wall was such a great filter, and it made the game incredibly enjoyable, because sooner or later you hit a wall, and the game basically forced you to become better, but it never felt unfair, because the people who were playing with were on the same skill level as you are. Sooner or later you had to decide, do I want to get better or no? There was only one way: practice. A lot. We are talking about hundreds of hours here. If you were bad, there was absolutely no one to blame but you. There is no jungler here or something like that, and this is why I love deathmatch and 1v1 rooms in S4. It was so raw and unforgivable. There were no objectives either, no balls like in TD, or anything like that, just you and your enemy. This was especially good with swords only. It filtered people out so good, because the game had a wonderful system, and that was simple really. You had to learn from other players to get good. Even if there were tutorials and websites, it was nowhere as near good as if a player directly was teaching you. This created a circle of people. There was a person who taught me, and I did the same. I was teaching others too. I remember still playing with friends Seeking, and I was amazed how good he was at swords, so I talked to him to teach me, and that's it. There was a mentor system in the game, where you could get a full set by just playing with your quote-unquote underlings, and you got a free permanent set too. It was a nice touch. This was one of the most wonderful parts of S4. The community was so close, people knew each other too. If you remembered a player's name, you also remembered their playstyle, because it was so distinguishable too. Even with all the hackers and the obvious technical problems, which we had a lot, and I mean a lot, we still loved the game. All we had is a rank next to our names, and it was based only on how much you played, because it was simple. The more you played, you became a better player. It was super rare to have a high-ranked player who was bad, because people gave up. They hit this wall I mentioned before, and they had that drive in them to be better. It also helped a lot that the game had rooms instead of a queue. While there was an instant match option, I legit never used it. The rooms were there for you and you could pick what you want. Fuck yeah, Seeking was an amazing plasma sword only player, and one of the biggest reason why I enjoyed the game. He was the one who taught me melee and plasma sword mostly. If you were like me and Seeking, we both didn't like Touchdown, so we didn't care about it. As time passed, I became better at the game, and these were probably the best times I had with a video game, and I'm not even over-exaggerating. It was an amazing experience, but of course nothing lasts forever. And now for the bad stuff. Well, if you watched Doomy's vids and you played this game yourself, you already know a lot of things gone wrong with this game. The slippery slope probably started with the dagger weapon, which was incredibly overpowered. Dagger spam was everywhere, and I remember that the more skilled sword deathmatch players hated it. I remember a lot of people got kicked and even marked as a noob who used it. But there was a bigger problem too: the cash shop. So the cash shop, I can safely say I never seen such a disgraceful way to actively taunt your player base like this. They were obviously better than their in-game currency counterparts because there was an obvious advantage. In the earlier days the gap was not as big, but you could feel it. It was not something you could ignore, however skill still played a big factor. These were the days when things weren't as good anymore, but the game still managed to live on. But things got really out of hand during the introduction of Hammer and Windblade. As for Hammer, it became the standard. Everyone was spamming it, and it was a lot worse than counter sword spam. It had no counterplay at all. As for Twin Blades, I actually enjoyed it. In fact, it became my main go-to weapon. If I entered a game with them, you knew someone will have a new butthole today. I feel like Twinblade still had a place in S4 because it was manageable and it had counterplay. Most people were bad at it anyway and were only spamming the jump attack, which was not very good, and it was easily countered. I might be wrong, but I think this was the Dark Lightning era, where we got a new ugly interface too. Now this was the point of no return. Insane amount of cash shop items in the game, a lot of gacha capsules too which could eat up your wallet. The game was worse than pay to win, it was pay to roll the gacha, and the in-game currency's Fumbi didn't help either. The damage was done. However, the final nail in the coffin was not this, but the Siege patch. There is no point in pointing fingers to the account migration fiasco, area ignite and the likes. I should blame the dev or the publisher. It's like, who cares anymore? Now back to the game modes. I don't think Siege itself was a bad game mode, or the maps, they were good in my opinion. The patch came with an assault rifle and a turret gun, which both had limited ammo, which was absurd, but whatever, these weapons were pretty okay-ish. The rifle was more or less the SMG, and the turret was a bad HMG, so they didn't had much impact. Probably Season 7 Cyborg was the one which was the final nail in the coffin for me. Warfare mode was forgotten the day it came out, the maps were also horrible. Probably this was my breaking point with the game, because of the weapons it came with. The hammers and daggers annoying spam combined with clunky, bad animations resulted in the Iron Boots weapon. It was horrible. The fists were okay-ish, albeit underpowered. It was a rare sight to see them, hence their bad animation and overall low damage. But the real creme on the top was rocket launcher. Now this weapon broke the game harder than the unnerfed Mine Shock. It was insane to even implement a weapon like this into the game. Also, even more cash shop items. This was the point where a lot of people, including me, left. The AP items had even force packs too, so the situation got out of hand. The game had barely any new players, but it was not the difficulty curve which I talked about earlier, it was the insane boost which AP items got you. It was not possible anymore to defeat someone who has AP. The skill got thrown out of the window in the favor of greed. The game reached a level where it was no point in saving it. If you didn't buy AP stuff, you got deleted, it was simple as that. It was not possible anymore to play without the cash shop. A game which was once an incredibly fun and hard competitive duty became a cash shop trash to fuel greed. I don't know who made this decision, but it was clear the devs don't give a damn anymore. And neither did the players. The game nowadays has like a few hundreds of players, probably not even the quarter it had back then. It's a shame honestly, and I don't even want to install it to see for myself its current state, because I would only get sad. The damage has been done, and I had to leave it. Even if it was hard, because this was the game for me, and I saw potential in it to even became an esports caliber, but of course that never happened. Some players still had positive hopes for it, that it can be revived, but I don't think that's possible anymore. Maybe some other new game could do that, but this one is beyond repair. How long do you think people will wait? It has been 10+ years. People will just move on if they see you are not improving. The game is probably still a buggy mess filled with hackers like it was before. The only people who now play it are the really old players who spent a lot on this game. There are no newbies to teach anymore, the old players left, there is nothing. I don't know much about the current community either, it's their choice to stay, but at the end of the day this game really deserved better. Personally, I think this game is just gone with its artist Panamaman. There are private servers, like Zero, and I'm aware of it, but in the long run they always bite the dirt. It's just not the same anymore. I'm still grateful for this game, it gave me incredibly good experiences and friendships with people who I'll never forget, even if I'm not in contact with them anymore. All that lag, crashes, hacking, AP items were heavily overwritten by the said experiences. From the newbie days, where I would miss every single revolver shot, up to the pro rank, where I could easily one-shot people. When I couldn't hit a single heavy swing with a plasma sword, up the point where I could catch people mid-air with Comet. All things have to end one day, and S4 League is one of these things. While private servers try to emulate it, like I said before, I know it's never going to be the same again, for me at least. The game unfortunately entered a state where it's just not possible to save it anymore. It would be a miracle to make this whole thing working again, with an active and welcoming player base, where the cash shop has minimal to no influence to the game. Most of the community moved on too, and I don't think, even if the devs would make everything in their power, would be enough anymore. I think the game's very soul was the community, which cannot be recreated, nor can be the days where skill mattered more than your wallet. Oh well, that's all I wanted to say. Peace.